To respond to the oralism group's opening statement, I'll challenge their points made and the evidence they related to it. First of all, I don't agree that oralism is a good practice in schools, and especially for deaf children. It is almost impossible to read somebody's lips if you are deaf, and the best way you can simulate this is by watching a YouTube video of someone talking and muting the video and trying to understand what they're saying, and you'll realize it's impossible almost, and you just can't do it. And many lip movements are different depending on how the person talks, so it's not reliable at all. The evidence that they referred to was Alexander Graham Bell and how he promoted oralism in schools because he thought it was the best way that deaf people could communicate. He did this because his mother and his wife were hard of hearing and deaf, and he wanted to find a better way of communicating for them. While it's easy to understand his motive and why he thought it would be more efficient to use oralism than sign language, he's not actually deaf or hard of hearing himself, so I don't think he should have a say in that at all. This is similar to when a non-deaf actor or a hearing actor takes the role of a deaf character and they fail to portray the character because they're not actually deaf and they don't understand themselves. To summarize my response up, I do not agree with oralism, and I do not think it should be used anywhere in schools all over the world or anywhere at all. I also don't think anyone who is not deaf or hard of hearing should have a say in what form of communication is being taught to deaf or hard of hearing people. And while I can see Alexander Graham Bell's motive and why he favored oralism, I just don't think he understands enough himself how hard it is to read lips, and he never had to do it himself because he was not deaf or hard of hearing, so why should he choose that for other people?
ASL gives deaf people their own space to grow and communicate without limits. It's not about trying to be like hearing people. It's about expressing yourself in a way that actually works and feels real. For example, when someone grows up using ASL, they build a stronger and more social life, more social skills, because they feel like they can fully connect with others from the start, something that oralism doesn't give. It also helps them feel proud of who they are and part of the culture that values communication. Oralism, on the other hand, can make people feel like they have to change to fit in, which takes away, their confidence and takes away their identity of being somebody deaf. ASL also opened doors beyond schools, in jobs, friendships, and uh, community life. More workplaces, for example, use interpreters or ASL friendly spaces now. Is becoming a bigger thing. Learning ASL doesn't just help deaf people. It helps everyone around you. It helps communicate better, and it helps us be more inclusive. So instead of trying to erase deaf culture, ASL accepts it. That's what makes it more powerful. It builds things with people and not make it more difficult, like oralism does.
You argue that oralism provides a better global form of communication, but this perspective misses the important point. You can't learn a language you can't clearly perceive. Communication is not just about using the majority's language, but also about having full access to a complete language from the start. Research in language acquisition consistently shows that without a full, accessible first language, children risk permanent language deprivation. ASL provides a complete linguistic foundation visually and naturally for a deaf child, which is a prerequisite for learning any other language, including written and spoken English. He also stated that oralism leads to a greater opportunity. I don't think the evidence for this supports that claim, as deaf individuals with a strong ASL foundation and deaf identity show higher levels of self-esteem, better academic outcomes, and greater social well-being from consistent studies. True connection and learning is created through accessibility and curiosity, not cultural assimilation. In professional and academic settings, accommodations like interpreters provide equal access, but they require the individual to have a solid first language to work from. ASL provides that foundation. Oralism fails to make that. Lastly, you cited that technology as a reason that oralism is more effective. It's important to differentiate between hearing and understanding. Technology like hearing aids and cochlear implants can make sounds accessible, but they don't guarantee the brain will be able to interpret them into a clear language, especially in suboptimal conditions. Bilingual approaches that use ASL with technology makes language development never delayed. ASL doesn't conflict with technology. It secures the child's right to a guaranteed language. All in all, the goal is not to prepare deaf children for a hearing world by limiting their access to a natural language. The goal is to provide them with a linguistic foundation that enables them to fully access the world. ASL accomplishes this while oralism has a high risk of failing to do so.
Hi, my name is Kai. Many deaf studies have shown that oralism just can't keep up in the classroom and school settings, leading to educational gaps in students. These gaps can be detrimental to learning, and for those who have any form of hearing impairment, is exasperated by this. We read a book called Deaf Again, where a young man talks about how he was brought to doctors to learn to read lips and use oralism to try to communicate in ways that just really didn't work for him. This is a common feeling across the board. And he felt very isolated and depressed, feeling like he was the problem, and that his grandparents and doctors and everyone around him was trying to fix him, that there was something broken with him. Having kids grow up in this type of situation is not ideal for them to have successful lives. In fact, it can be very damaging. In conclusion, while oralism can have some place in the classroom, it does not come above or anywhere near the level that ASL can bring to a child's learning, especially when received and brought when especially when handled in correct manners and brought up around and amongst deaf peers and individuals to look up to. Having these environmental factors aside, when it comes to actually learning and taking in new information, ASL in many ways can be easier for many students to learn versus oralism.